So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, every single year in the NFL, there seems to be players that are set to break out, right? Whether it be a second-year player building off a strong rookie season, a third-year player that finally puts it together, or a player showing up in a contract season to get that big extension and prove why they belong on the team they're at. And the Detroit Lions are no exception to this rule, right? They have several players on the roster with potential of breaking out in the 2022 season, and that is exactly what players we're going to be talking about today. I have 5 players listed that maybe haven't put everything together, maybe haven't had elite seasons, but have had productive or promising seasons, or players that just might get more time this year because of roster restructuring and are finally going to have the ability and the opportunity to show what they're truly made of. So today, we're going to take a look at 5 breakout candidates for the Detroit Lions in the 2023 NFL season, starting off with Derrick Barnes, the third-year linebacker from Purdue. Now, Derrick Barnes has never been a bad linebacker for the Detroit Lions. After being the 113th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions thought they had a very good linebacker in the Purdue product. He showed out in the preseason, being the Detroit Lions' best graded defensive player in all of the 2021 preseason, as well as showing a lot of flashes in the 2021 regular season. Across his 2-year career so far, Derrick Barnes has played in 32 games for the Detroit Lions, missing just 2, playing 797 snaps, that being 37% of the total defensive snaps over the last 2 seasons, while totaling 114 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, as well as 3 passes defended. Now, if you were to take a look at a player playing 37% of your snaps across 2 years, averaging over 50 tackles, almost 60 tackles a season at 37% of defensive snaps, you would probably say that's a really good linebacker that needs to be playing more snaps. But for one reason or another, Derrick Barnes has never really been able to find his way onto the field consistently, despite on the spreadsheet being a very productive football player and being arguably the best and most productive linebacker the Detroit Lions have on their roster. Now, when Derrick Barnes was drafted out of the University of Purdue, he was looked at as a project. He was looked at as a player that was primarily a pass rusher, a player that was primarily to go after the quarterback, and a guy that didn't have the greatest coverage skills, wasn't necessarily the most polished outside or off-ball linebacker, and wasn't a player that was projected to start very early. However, in the 2021 season, as I said, Derrick Barnes was impressive. He was easily the best defensive player and the most exciting defensive player in that preseason, and had a lot of Lions fans looking forward to what he would be in his rookie year and beyond. Now, taking a look at Derrick Barnes this season, I think he's a huge role player that could break out in 2023. Yes, there's a lot of competition at linebacker, right? You have Alex Anzalone, who played 100% of the defensive snaps a year ago for the Detroit Lions. You have, of course, Jack Campbell, the first-round pick. You have Malcolm Rodriguez, the breakout player from a season ago. You have a lot of different guys in the linebacking core that can do a lot of different roles, and that's going to lead to a lot of competition and likely lead to Derrick Barnes not being a starter, not being a full-time player like Alex Anzalone, but being more of a role player in the defense. However, I do believe Derrick Barnes will get more snaps this season than last. I do think he'll play closer to that 40 to 50% of defensive snaps, as he has been an OTA standout. He has been incredibly impressive at minicamp and offseason trainings. He's been taking first-team reps with the defense already. Granted, Malcolm Rodriguez has been out with an injury for the last couple of practices. However, up to this point, he has been beating out and holding off first-round pick Jack Campbell for those first-team reps and been showing massive improvement in every factor of the game. Alex Anzalone, Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Detroit Lions, have all come out and said that Derek Barnes is taking massive steps forward in year 3. He's seeing the game faster. He's reading plays better. He's reading gaps and gap assignments better. He's making more secure tackles. He's getting to the right spot at the right time more often. And Derek Barnes, I truly believe, is going to be a very difficult player for the Detroit Lions to take off the field next year. I think he's going to be more of a goal line back, more of an early down back, a player that is going to be more of a run stuffer and more of a pass rusher on blitz packages. But there is a role in this defense for Derek Barnes. And I think after all the comments of Alex Anzalone, the team captain, Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, Dan Campbell, the head coach, talking about this guy in particular, of all of the stars on their defense right now, I think Derek Barnes is going to have not only a role, but a big role in the 2023 defense for the Detroit Lions, and is going to be very hard for the Detroit Lions to take off the field very often in 2023. The next player I want to talk about is Kirby Joseph. I would argue is already a star in the NFL. Played 17 games last year, made 14 starts for the Detroit Lions, had 82 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, 4 interceptions, and 8 more passes defended. And that might lead you to believe, how could Kirby Joseph break out? Isn't he already a star? Isn't he already a household name? And I would argue no. I would argue Kirby Joseph, despite being a very good player a season ago, certainly has areas of improvement, as Kirby Joseph last year in coverage allowed over 400 yards and 6 touchdowns through the air, including 2 big passing touchdowns versus Seattle, a big broken play versus the New York Jets, a big broken play the first time around versus the Chicago Bears, as well as 1 more big touchdown that just wasn't necessary and was incredibly preventable by Kirby Joseph if he were just to play in the right spot and learn the system a little bit quicker. Now, by all means, Kirby Joseph is a star player on the Detroit Lions defense. By all means, Kirby Joseph is one of the top defensive backs on this team, and I am not in question of that, right? Kirby Joseph did give up a lot of big plays, but he made a lot of big plays. He, by himself, forced 7 turnovers for this Detroit Lions defense, including a game-stealing pick against a Hall of Fame quarterback to give the Detroit Lions their first winning season in almost half a decade. Right? He's been a phenomenal player for the Detroit Lions as a rookie. And after some early growing pains and some outs and some outlier big plays, he was a great football player for the Detroit Lions. However, by all accounts at rookie minicamp, by all accounts at OTAs, Kirby Joseph is a better football player now than he even was in week 18 a season ago. He's more confident. He's making more plays on the ball. He's getting more interceptions at OTAs and training camp, and he just looks like a dominant safety in the NFL. I think Kirby Joseph is going to go from a big play guy, somebody more of a Trayvon Diggs role that might give up some big plays, but it's going to make a lot of big plays for you too, to becoming a truly elite top 10 safety in the NFL. He has the range. He has the ball skills. He has the ability to tackle. He's a secure tackler and is a big hitter at that. And I think Kirby Joseph is going to limit those big plays this year. I think he's becoming more of a deep ranging, ball hawking free safety in the mold that Earl Thomas was in the Legion of Boom. And I think he's going to be a deep middle fielding free safety who's going to walk away with 3-4 more picks this season, but he's going to go down when it comes to big plays being allowed, right? He's not going to allow as many yards. He's not going to allow as many busted plays. He's not going to allow as many big touchdowns to put the Lions defense in a tough situation, but he's going to remain the playmaker he was a season ago. So I think Kirby Joseph is going to stay very much a great player. I think he already is a great player, but cutting down on some of those big plays could take him from being an exciting young rookie that makes big plays to being a truly elite top 10 safety in this league. Now, the third player I want to talk about today is Jerry Jacobs. Jerry Jacobs is a third-year player as an undrafted free agent from the University of Arkansas. Jerry Jacobs has played 25 games across 2 seasons for the Detroit Lions, making 17 starts, 76 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, a sack, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, 15 passes defended across 2 seasons, as well as an interception. Now, Jerry Jacobs has never played a full season for the Detroit Lions, as in his rookie year, he was an undrafted free agent playing behind guys like Jeff Okudah, Amani Oruwariye, and a lot of other veterans that had earned their spots. And last season, he started on the PUP list. He started on the physically unable to perform list as he was returning from a torn ACL. But once he returned to the field, returned to being one of the top players in the Detroit Lions secondary. Jerry Jacobs is kind of an anomaly in the NFL, right? He wears a weird number. He's not very big. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the strongest guy. He's not the longest cornerback, but he is the scrappiest cornerback in the NFL. And I would argue if there was such a thing as measuring, a dog in somebody, as the term usually goes, I would argue Jerry Jacobs has that dog in him. He is somebody that just continues to scrap, continues to play, makes every single rep on a wide receiver difficult, and continues to improve every single week, and was arguably the Detroit Lions' best cornerback a season ago, despite only playing in 13 games after returning from an ACL injury. This season, Jerry Jacobs is likely going to start week 1, and if he can stay healthy for an entire season, is likely going to play a full season for the first time in his NFL career. A full season of Jerry Jacobs means a full season of a lockdown boundary cornerback that can take away a team's number one option. It means a lockdown number one cornerback that you can rely on to 1v1 a wide receiver for an entire game. And it means a cornerback that is going to be a top defender in this league. Jerry Jacobs does get a little grabby at times. He does get a little handsy, does get a few pass interferences here and there, but he is a player that is going to fight for every single football in the air, and that is the perfect cornerback for Aaron Glenn and the Detroit Lions system. Now, taking a look at the offensive side, right? We've done 3 defensive players, and I wanted to focus on 2 offensive players. The first of which is going to be free agent David Montgomery, a player that throughout his career has averaged 3 yards per carry, 8 yards per reception, has 4 straight seasons of 1,000 scrimmage yards, but has never ever in his career had more than 2 yards before contact in his season, right? Every single year with the Chicago Bears, while carrying the football, he has been hit either before or at 2 yards in front of the line of scrimmage, and has never really had a great run blocking offensive line for him. For comparison, the Detroit Lions last season as a team averaged 3 yards before contact, and that offensive line is of significantly better than the Bears offensive line he's played with his entire career in Chicago, while David Montgomery is averaging 2 yards after contact every single time. Meaning with the Detroit Lions a season ago, he would have averaged 5 yards per carry as a running back behind the system. And for a running back like Jameson Williams, who was great, broke the rushing touchdown record a season ago for the Detroit Lions, David Montgomery is a better receiving threat. David Montgomery is just as good on the ground, if not better, at making people miss, and has a little bit more breakaway speed. So the Detroit Lions are going from an 1,100-yard rusher, a 17-touchdown rusher, to getting a guy that's more explosive, better in the receiving game, a little bit better at making people miss, and can be just as good at everything Jameson Williams did a season ago for the Detroit Lions. I think this is going to be David Montgomery's best rushing year in the NFL. And I believe he is healthy enough and he is kind of bell cow enough to be a guy that takes 200 to 250 touches, a guy that takes on 200 carries a season and stays healthy for a majority of the season. And I think he's going to have 1,300 rushing yards if the Detroit Lions truly commit to the run, and could potentially have 300 to 400 receiving yards as well. This is a guy that could have 1,600 yards total from scrimmage because the offensive line's better. The offensive scheme is better, and David Montgomery has been one of, I think, the most underrated backs in the NFL. As I said, having 4 straight seasons, coming out as a 3rd-round rookie from Iowa State, having 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons from the line of scrimmage. So I think David Montgomery, if healthy, is going to have a breakout season this year and might be one of the league's best rushers, as he finally has an offensive line and offensive system that's going to help him play to his strengths. Now, the last player I want to talk about today is a guy that I think everybody knows is a breakout candidate. That being Jameson Williams, the former 12th overall pick from the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, Jameson Williams averaged 40 yards a touch a season ago. Got a lot of separation, and even coming off a torn ACL, even being a rookie in his first game, drew attention from the defense. The defense shifted to his side. The safeties shifted over towards Jameson Williams, allowing Amon-Ra St. Brown, allowing Josh Reynolds, allowing Khalif Raymond, allowing Brock Wright to get open underneath and in the intermediate routes, as Jameson Williams was such a big threat to take the top off of defenses. Now, yes, it's true Jameson Williams only had 2 touches, right? He had the big touchdown versus the Minnesota Vikings in his second game, and then he had the 40-yard rush versus the Chicago Bears in week 17 of the NFL season. The volume was very low, but the production, the efficiency was incredibly high for the amount of touches that he got. He's a player that defenses planned around. He's a player that defenses schemed for. He's a player that, despite being a rookie and only having 2 career touches, is a player that draws attention from the safety, draws attention from the cornerback, draws double teams, and draws an extra player over the top, because if you are even with Jameson Williams, he is leaving you in the dust. Now, Jameson Williams has a full season, has a full offseason to train, is a full season of camps and OTAs, and is the opportunity to actually build chemistry with his quarterback in Jared Goff. Now, I know that Jameson Williams is going to be suspended for the first six games and likely won't play until week 7, but that doesn't mean Jameson Williams can't have a great season. That doesn't mean in the final 11 games, Jameson Williams can't have 1,000 receiving yards. That doesn't mean Jameson Williams can't be a big play threat in the Detroit Lions offense and be a huge player for the Lions offense once he returns versus the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think that's exactly what he's going to be. He's going to develop chemistry with Jared Goff. He's going to get a full offseason to train. He's going to stay in season shape. By the time he comes back in week 7, he's going to have fresh legs versus a bunch of Raiders defensive backs that are 7 games in, have taken a lot of hits, are probably facing a few injuries, are definitely facing a few bumps and bruises, and they're going to face a 100% healthy week 1, ready to go Jameson Williams, who runs 4.2 and is a great route runner, a great separator, and hopefully gets his catches and drop concerns out of the way in camp. I think Jameson Williams has an incredibly bright future. I know there's a lot of people that are against Jameson Williams right now. I know there's a lot of people that are hypocritical and very critical of Jameson Williams right now, but Jameson Williams is a star in the making. He has all the talent, all the tools in the world to be a star in the NFL. And I think once he returns in week 7, that's exactly what we're going to see from the young product out of Alabama. But with all that being said, that is live for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below your top breakout candidate for the 2023 Detroit Lions. Is it Jameson Williams? Is it David Montgomery? Is it one of the defenders we talked about today? I'd be very curious to hear what you guys have to say. And of course, if it's somebody completely different we didn't even mention, leave their name down in the comments below so that everybody knows to watch out for that player in 2023. But with all that being said, that is life for you guys today. If you're still here watching and enjoy the content, please make sure you get down below and subscribe to the channel. Helps the channel out a ton. And if you hit the bell notification, you'll never miss a Detroit Lions upload. But with all that being said, that is all we got for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions!